intro, and then we'll just jump straight into it. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Talking Tradesman. In the studio with me today, I have a returning guest, a guest that sat down with me close to a year ago. I'm sat here with Jacob Guy. Few things have changed since last time he was in, new business venture. But Jacob, first of all, mate, again, massive thank you for giving up your time for coming back in. Let's have a little catch up here about what's been going on in the last year. But for those, there'll be some people listening that will have heard your first episode, and the audience has grown somewhat since the last one. So maybe it'd be a good idea to reintroduce yourself, let people know a little bit about what you do, and a bit of a recap on some of the stuff from the last episode, and then we'll talk about the stuff that's gone on since then, if that makes sense. Good to be back, man. Appreciate it. Good to have you, mate.
Lovely to be back. So I came in just under a year ago. We discussed For Dads by Dads, which was a program that I started as part of my day job within Torvine Health, Sport and Fitness, which it focuses on new and expecting dads and the journey into fatherhood.
And supporting those dads.
Supporting dads, with a 10-week program that we've established now that runs twice a year, and we're on our 8th program starting in September. So we've got 16 dads booked on, which is part of my day job, which is part of now my remit as part of a program that we established a few years ago, but it's growing from strength to strength, which is great. So it's taken up a lot of my time within the day job, but really rewarding, managing to meet some amazing new and expecting dads.
That's brilliant, mate. Yeah. I mean, eight plans with on average over 10 dads on each program.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, so you've probably helped over 100 new and expecting dads.
120 plus.
120, mate. Well, first of all, well done, because that's pretty special.
Cheers, brother.
Yeah, it is. So, isn't it? I mean, like I said, I think I touched on last time we went round, like my own journey of being a parent. There was no support, so it would have been amazing to have had that support and that peer group. And I would imagine that the connections that you make with those dads within the groups probably roll on way past the program.
Yeah, there's lots of exit routes for the dads. A lot of dads come together, good groups, good camaraderie, WhatsApp groups where they can check in with each other and help each other and go through the journey of fatherhood. The program's been a massive eye-opener, so many positives being part of the dad's journey, into fatherhood, sometimes being part of, not physically part of the actual birth, but being one of the first people that's told about that the dad's, the dad's now is a dad, how mum's getting on and how, how much the baby weighs, the name that they've decided. So it's really cool that Gareth and I, who I work with on the program, are a small part of that. So it's really rewarding in that respect. So yeah, it's given some really, pleasuresome times with the guys.
Honestly, I think it's a huge thing that you're doing, giving that the camaraderie amongst men that are all becoming fathers at the same sort of time, and giving people that support network, I think is huge. Because we talked about this on the first episode, but to recap it, one of the reasons that you were involved and have done that program is because of that gap, that gap for dads and expectant fathers. And the way that a lot of fathers feel sort of like pushed to the bottom in terms of importance in the whole process, really. Would that be accurate to say?
I think so. Don't get me wrong, there's some amazing dads out there. There's some dads who don't want to be as hands-on, but times have changed somewhat. Back in the day, mum did everything, dad went to work. Those days have long gone, so dads do want to be hands-on. So, dads are quite apprehensive about becoming fathers, but they're also excited. And it's just giving that validation to dads that they feel that they're part of it more than anything. And I think once a dad feels valued, he can go along with the mother to his child and be the best dad that he's going to be. And that's something that we say as a strapline, to be the best dad that you can be, as part of the For Dads by Dads program, which obviously we touched on in my last podcast. So it's grown and it's got some legs, and we're working with some amazing partners, and in my remit as part of the local authority, no one's really doing it. So there is still a big gap in that. You know, there is other local authorities that are doing more with dads and men. But yeah, we're one of the first, if not the first. I don't want to say that too aloud, just in case I'm wrong. But you know, we've had a number of dads travel from further afield because they want to be part of it.
You can say you're the first to the best of your knowledge.
As far as I'm aware, I'm always quite conscious that I don't want to give out false information.
Well, it's not something that I hear a lot of, or in fact anything of. So the fact that the initiative, because I remember one of the things that I said, I think last time we talked, was that I hoped that other authorities, local authorities, would pick that up, almost use your thing as a blueprint and promote that. But you haven't seen any of that.
There is more stuff. I've done some presentations in relation to For Dads by Dads. Gareth and I, do a lot of things, podcasts, and we've done quite a lot of things on social media.
Brilliant.
And we have had other local authorities start to express interest in what more can they do for dads within the authority that I'm working in. A number of schools now have decided that they want to look into doing more stuff with dads, which is great to hear. And as part of my day job will be great to be a part of, even if it's a small part and it's just a bit of guidance and support. So that's exciting times because dads are doing more. You know, you've met Mark Williams. Mark was in Parliament today doing great stuff with more stuff to do with dads and father support and men's mental health. And it all sort of goes hand in hand, as I've said to you before, Russ. Sometimes there's enough seats at the table for us to all help each other.
It's such a massive subject. I mean, to anyone listening that isn't familiar with Mark's story, Mark came and sat down with me and talked about all the proactive work that he's doing for fathers' mental health and his own story of experiencing like severe birth trauma and male PTSD post a traumatic birth experience, which again is something that doesn't really get talked about.
No, it just made me think then when you were talking, it's really powerful stuff. And sometimes it's seen as taboo as us as geezers thinking, I don't want to talk about that. And we are too proud sometimes as men to talk about our feelings, how we're feeling, what we're going through. And the journey into fatherhood, and I've said it quite regularly, is the most rewarding thing you'll ever do. But there is some tough times. It is quite hard at times.
Know I said this last time round, and I'm going to get it in here early, but everything that we're discussing does not take anything away from the mother.
No.
All it is, it's just highlighting, I guess, the male perspective or the male experience of being a father and going through the birth process and being a father beyond that. It doesn't take anything. It's not a tit for tat. It's not a competition. Everybody's feelings and perspective is completely valued in this. And it's one of the main things, I think, touching on the subject that Mark discusses a lot with like birth trauma. Rightly so, there's a lot of focus on the mother that actually has to physically go through that. But there isn't really so much support and focus on the father, the partner that might be there to witness that, to witness the loved one, the loss of control, the fear, the anxiety, and quite often the post-traumatic symptoms that come off the back of witnessing all that. And I think maybe part of that is because it's like, well, hold on, the woman's doing the hard bit here, so let's give them all the attention, and the dad's perspective gets swept under the rug. And as I say, it's not saying that, look, we need to give dads attention and we're going to take that attention away from the mother. It's like, yes, the mother deserves all that attention and support, but let's also support the fathers. Let's take a quick break there to thank our headline sponsors, Zinza, and let's talk about Zinza's Perma-White. Zinza Perma-White is a self-priming, mould-resistant interior wall paint. It isn't just available in white, it can be tinted to any colour at selected stockists. It has trace VOCs and a scrubbable formula that's designed to resist cracking, peeling and blistering for up to 7 years, making Zinza Perma-White the perfect choice when you're looking for an all-purpose finish for kitchens, bathrooms and high humidity areas. Go and check it out. Big thank you again to Zinza, and let's get back to the episode.
100%, Russ. There's something that I always say in every group that I work with. This is never to discredit the amazing work that mums do. It'll never be us and them. whether people are married, you know, in a relationship, you know, co-parenting, no longer together, divorced, whatever, a child needs both parents in their lives.
Yeah,
And that's really important, and something that, as part of what we'll discuss shortly, you know, some of the presentations and things that we're talking about is the importance of a father within their child's life. And that's not just my experience, that's professional insight, that's all the different bits that it can be. And it is something that's really prevalent at the moment, especially with all the hard-hitting stuff. You know, it's a common conversation about the adolescence series with Stephen Graham and Ashley Waters, which was amazing to watch. Gives an insight into that, and I think now that's sort of raised the bar, and people have gone, shit, we haven't thought of that. Or, you know, especially the way that it was filmed. You know, I rate both of those guys as top real British actors, top end.
Yeah, man, incredible.
What they do, and I think, you know, I'm a big fan of Top Boy. Ashley Waters in there.
Ashley Waters was a great actor. He was part of the producer for both as well, wasn't he?
And obviously Stephen Graham, I watched in numerous shows.
Stephen Graham's acting is top level.
And even like the Guy Ritchie films that he's in as well, you know, people forget that. But sitting down and watching that was really powerful, and groups that, you know, professional people that I've worked with, or charities that I've worked with, or potentially even dads having that conversation. It was real hard hitting, because the first time I watched it, it was like, this is a bit different. This
Makes you feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, it did. And I think sometimes, as we've discussed, sometimes you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. You're sort of facing your fears, and you're because life is never going to be easy, is it? Not just as a father, as a bloke. You know, we're going to come against adversities, and we need to make sure that we can be as resilient as possible. And sometimes when we've got a lot of shit going on, we're not the most resilient, because we're in our cave thinking, shit, I don't need this, I can't deal with this. And I think sometimes there's a lot of strength in admitting that, God, I just need an arm around my shoulder and I can get through this. And, you know, I'm lucky in my life that I've got some amazing people around me. So, you know, you can always draw on those people who are close to you to help you through a shit situation, or, you know, it could even be a positive situation that you've just become overwhelmed with whatever feeling that you've got, because feelings are feelings, aren't they? Sometimes they touch a little bit, other times they can just take over your whole body. So I think us as blokes now in 2025, we are a lot more open about our feelings and how we can deal with things, and how we approach things with our kids and, you know, people we work with, and friends and family. I think it's really important that we have those conversations with nearest and dearest, to know that it's all right to have feelings and be a little bit emotional here and there. We all can be, and some people have got bigger triggers than others. And I suppose as you go into that journey into fatherhood, but not just, you know, with For Dads by Dads, it's aimed at new and expecting dads. The JSG stuff that I'm doing is dads overall. Yeah. So that might not go away. We still may be overwhelmed with becoming a dad. You know, your child's becoming older.
I think it's a brilliant thing that you're doing. I really do. I don't think it gets anywhere near enough attention. And also there is the stigma around talking about how difficult it can be to be a father. Like just how tough it is emotionally, the pressures, the weight of responsibility of being a father. So my personal situation, my son's 18 now. So I've gone through that. My daughter is about to turn 13. There's different fears, different pressures, different anxieties associated to both of them. It's not an easy job, man. It really isn't. And there's, but I think there is a bit of a stigma about putting your hand up and going, I'm struggling right now with this. You know, just being a dad, knowing what's right and what's wrong. And every kid's different. So, you know, each child, there's no blueprint. There's no guidebook that you can buy. Like, this is how to be a dad. And it's tough. So building those support networks that you're doing and the work that you're doing and putting yourself in a position that you're putting yourself in, I think is fantastic work, mate. I really do. I think it'll go a long, long way to helping not only fathers, but just generally men's mental health. Because it all, you know, it's a huge percentage of my mental health is associated to my kids. So, you know, there's a big chunk of that.
I think sometimes we sort of we set up to want to solve a problem. Sometimes we don't need to solve the problem. We just need to listen. You know, I'm someone black and white. I want a solution. If there's a problem, I want a solution. I want to resolve the problem. Sometimes we just need to listen. We need to just listen. And that's something I'm learning to do, because obviously I'm a bit of a talker at times with things that I'm doing. And something I've noticed is talking is a two-way, communication is a two-way process. We talk and we listen. I think sometimes we're always trying to support people. Sometimes supporting them is just listening. And I think, you know, especially us as blokes, and suicide rates and the ONS surveys and things like that, things that's coming out is scary stuff. You know, losing loved ones to suicide and things like that is gonna, the ripple effect of a suicide is up to 150 people. It can be.
The last,
and it's sad. It's sad because we're having to talk to our dads, or you know, I work with somebody who works within suicide, and it's been a massive eye opener to me, and it's made me change my outlook on how I would approach it and things I do. I've done training in it and stuff, because not just in my day job, but also the work that I've been doing on the side as well. It as cheesy as it sounds, it can save someone's life. Being able to listen and not judge and not guide, because sometimes we do judge and we don't mean to, but sometimes it's quite easy to judge. And I think we need to sometimes just strip it back at the moment and just go, you know what, we don't know what fight people are fighting, do we? So I think it's really important that we just sit back and listen. And that's something that I've tried to do with all the work that I do, whether it's in my day job or the JSG stuff, is create a safe space where people feel comfortable and confident to talk about what they need to, and go away from there without feeling judged. And if you can do that with one person, you've already made a difference as far as I'm concerned.
1,000,000%, mate. It's a very important thing that you've said, and it echoes a sentiment that I've been promoting throughout the podcast. And I learned it through my time at Samaritans, which is the power of listening, and the yin and yang, the balance between talking and listening. It has to be a balance, because if one's out of kilter to the other, it's not effective. And quite rightly, as you said, as men, a lot of the time we want to listen to respond, listen to fix. But the person on the other end of that, the person that's trusting you to offload their issues, will see that as not being heard.
Yeah, 100%. And I remember, you know, the last time we chatted and saying about that, it's really important just to create a safe space. People will always say that blokes don't talk. That's bullshit. They will talk. You've just got to create a safe space and a safe environment and make them feel comfortable and confident that they can talk. Whether it's for the work that I've done with JSG or the work that I've done with For Dads by Dads, floor is theirs. We open up and there's disclosures made that obviously we will never disclose. But sometimes people walk out of those sessions thinking, God, I've offloaded. And I never thought. But the power of talking means that if you disclose something, someone else then feels comfortable and confident, thinks, you know what, if he's saying something, I'm going to say something. And it's a bit of a ripple effect then. It's a bit of a snowball moment, snowball effect to guys to go, shit, you know, he's opened up about that. So I feel I can talk about things, and it's really powerful. And not just in the For Dads by Dad stuff that's done in the day job. It's just admitting your own faux pas, then, that we're all human and we all make mistakes. We're not there to be judged. We get things right 30% of the time. So that's 2/3 that we're not getting, and that's enough. So, you know, we're always looking for perfection. We're never going to have perfection. So just do the best you can do. And if you're, whether it's to be the best boyfriend, or whether it's to be the best dad, or whether it's to be the best person in your job, it just takes a bit of time, and you've got to stick at it, and you've just got to give it time and the focus that you can. Whereas we're always in a rush to try and be perfect, and we're not going to be perfect. And that's why we put so much pressure on ourselves with social media and different things like that. Or they've got an expensive car and they're going on holidays, they're doing this. It doesn't mean they're any better parent than someone who maybe is less affluent, maybe doesn't go on holiday, maybe hasn't got the disposable income that others have, but they can give their kid love, attention and affection, skin on skin, and that builds the bond with your child and you being there. And they will remember everything, as I've said before, with whether it's sports days, you know, your first parents' evening, your first dipping tooth coming through, whatever, they will remember those moments, and they're far more effective than all the things. Yes, we spoke about it before, and people going, well, money can't buy time. I said that, yeah. And someone said, well, it sort of can. It's like, well, yeah, okay, each to their own. We've all got a different outlet, but you can't get those memories back a lot of the time. You know, whenever we go somewhere now, people aren't in the moment, are they? Phones out, they're recording everything. But that one moment where you can just sit there and take it all in, it's really empowering moment where your phone's not there, and you know, and we all do it. We're all on our phones way too much. I know I am.
1,000,000%.
And there's time where I look and I think, shit, you know, my daughter's got a phone and she's on it quite a bit, and I find it quite hard. But I'm like, right, hang on, you've got to put your phone down. But there's times where I'm on my phone because I've got emails to send, I've got phone calls to make. So, you know, something that we've tried to encourage is, you know, is to have that little bit of time away from your phone and just be face to face. People struggle with face to face now because we're not used to it. Because we've run off with always being on our phone. We'll walk around town and everyone's on their phone. So they've always got stuff to do. And we've all been there, so that's not me digging anyone out at all by any stretch.
No, I get it, mate.
We're all there. We've all been there and we've all done it.
It's a bit of a fascination of mine watching society, how it moves like that. If anything happens, a friend of mine was in America this week, and he was posting like stories at like Times Square at midnight and stuff like that, 4th of July. And when you look at everyone in it, everyone's watching it through their phone. It's a weird thing, isn't it? Well, because 9 times out of 10, let's be honest here, you take a video of something at an event or whatever, it was concert, whatever, football ground, football game, you ain't watching it back. You're never going to watch that video. No. But so you're choosing to be present in a spectacular moment and watch the whole thing through an 8-inch screen rather than panoramic in your eyes, you know, and just enjoying the moment. And again, that's not taking shots because I've done the same thing, but when you then examine the behaviour, it's a kind of weird thing to do.
We need more in here, don't we?
Yeah,
we need those. That's what we lived off previously.
It's a strange thing to do, yeah.
Yeah, I get why people do it. Like you said, we've all done it, and we'll all continue to do it at times. Sometimes just that whole of just being in the moment
it's that thing though, isn't it? It's the social media thing, keeping up with the Joneses of, oh, something special's happening, I need to record it so I can tell everyone that I've seen it. But why does it matter? Why do you need to tell everyone that you've seen it? Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's a bizarre thing, but again, it's following. We're designed to do that. We're designed to follow the pack. Most people will follow the pack. So whatever that behaviour is that is societally accepted right now, it's like, well, I've got to do that to feel like I'm part of this thing, this society and how it moves, and to be accepted. I've got to do all these things everyone else is doing. And really, it's taken away from that quality. Certainly with kids, I think we're all guilty of that. I'm guilty of it myself. You know, I don't live with my daughter. I see her every other weekend, and I'll find myself doing it. When I'm sat on the sofa, there's a bit of downtime. First thing you do is reach for your phone.
Of course.
Then I think, you know, I've got to try and savour this time and put the phone down, put a movie on, even just being present with each other. But it's hard. Like, I say it's hard. It's not hard. It's the most simple thing in the world. But you've got to consciously choose to do it. You've got to choose it. Yeah. You've got to choose it. And with the wiring, the way we're wired now, it's not the first thing that you choose.
No, I think it definitely gives people food for thought, and we all consciously then try to do more. You know, I tried to do it, and my daughter's at that age now where her phone's been in her life for a year or so. As it is around kids her age and upwards as well. So it's just trying to make sure that time's there's quality time, and it's never to dig anyone out. You know, sometimes, you know, when we've talked about guys in the trade and people who are self-employed, you know, not just guys but women who are in the trade and stuff as well. Sometimes you're having to get through checking things for work the next day, or orders or things like that. So I fully get it. You know, it's in. And sometimes when you're running your own business, you're dependent on yourself, not someone else, because you're working for a team that, oh, well, if I forget, so-and-so will do it and it'll be fine. You know, that's gone as when you're self-employed, because you potentially might have to oversee a team of people as well. So it's, you know, we said before about the importance of just trying to get that time, because, you know, your money is your own and you're having to work certain hours to, you know, sometimes the thought of being self-employed, oh yeah, I can just go in at this time, I can do, doesn't always work like that.
Mate, never works like that. Never works like that. It's the biggest lie. The biggest misconception about running your own business is that you get freedom. You know, there's that meme that I've seen a million times, and it's like, you know, I went self-employed to work my own hours. Now I work all the hours, essentially. But there's a lot of truth in that. It's relentless. I've had a very few throughout my career, a couple of time periods where I worked as a contract manager and bits and pieces, where I did have that facility to have set working hours and at the end of the day switch off. And there's a beauty to that, man. There really is.
You can walk away then, can't you?
Yeah, well, it's just like, right, okay, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, that's it, I'm done till tomorrow. Like, work, switch off. Whereas when you're self-employed, you're on your own business, you're never off.
No.
You're never off. And a lot of people now, you know, like me, myself, I operate, things are changing a little bit for me because I'm dealing with things I never had to deal with before. I'm dealing with the admin for this. I'm dealing with, you know, like speaking to brands and things like that, sponsorships and bits and pieces that I'm trying to gather in for the podcast. But a lot of that is done now for me of an evening. But I notice a lot of the replies come in an evening as well. And these are even people that work for brands. So they're still working at 8, 9 o'clock at night. They're replying to emails and stuff like that.
Goes back to the phone again, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, mate.
There,
yeah.
Phone is there. Oh, I'll quickly do that because it'll break the back of the work tomorrow. So I'll send it now because I do it.
There's something I saw, mate, and it really resonated. And the saying, I'm potentially butchering it, but it went along the lines of, the moment the phone was untethered, people became tethered forever.
That makes sense.
You know, like the old school phone on the wall. The minute that it could go everywhere with you.
Yeah.
Now we're
never away from it.
Now we're tethered.
Like that, aren't they?
Yeah. It's got to listen. There's got to be psychological conditions related to it. I think most people, if we're being honest, are probably addicted to the phone. The phone is designed to give you those dopamine hits and keep you looking, keep you checking. Everything from the tone of a notification, it is designed to give your brain a little bump, a little like, oh, that's nice. So you constantly want more and more and more and more of it. And I'm aware of it, and I'm still stuck in the cycle. I get frustrated sometimes. I'll sit at home and realise that I've been doom scrolling and I've lost like 20 minutes, half an hour, and I'll throw my phone across, not like literally throw it at the wall, but I'll like throw it the other side of the room from me, just like, get it away from me. I know what it's doing. And then generally I'll put the bigger screen on instead. So I'll just go from a little screen to a bigger screen. So yeah, I'm just as bad as everyone else. But mate, one of the things, listen, I want to get onto JSG. That didn't exist last time we sat down.
No.
So tell me about that.
So JSG Health for Dads is me. So I've taken on doing a bit of side work. Obviously, my daytime job is still there. For Dads by Dads is a big part of my daytime job. But I've decided to sort of branch out a little bit, and the aims and objectives is to sort of empower dads to be their best. Not working with new and expecting dads, it's just dads, but covering the importance of physical, mental health within their journey through fatherhood, not just into fatherhood, through fatherhood, the importance of, you know, their own physical health, what can they do to look after themselves better, their mental health, you know, these things that we've just spoke about, things with phones, things like that. So it's things, you know, with the For Dads by Dads stuff, I facilitate a lot of that and work with some amazing partners. But JSG Health for Dads is sort of more focused on the physical and mental health.
I'm going to pause there to thank this episode's sponsors, Abode Academy. Abode offer practical-based spray courses in Wiltshire and Manchester. They teach airless spraying, kitchen and furniture spraying, UPVC spraying, special effects including metal and workshop refurbishment courses. I myself have been on their airless course and I really enjoyed it. They teach in small groups, so it's a laid-back environment and very hands-on, loads of time on the sprayers. Their courses are approved by the Construction Industry Training Board, otherwise known as CITB, so you know you're getting good quality training. They offer full aftercare support and have their own range of spray equipment, which is top quality at affordable prices, and the aftercare they give is nothing short of amazing. If you're thinking of getting into spraying, you can check out their website at www.abodeacademy.co.uk, or you can search them up at Abode Academy on Instagram, as they post loads of helpful spraying content with tips and tricks. Thanks to the team at Abode Academy for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Let's get back to the episode.
You know, I've been working with charities and professionals more so than hands-on with dads. That's not to say I don't work with dads, but it's more to sort of have that conversation with people higher up the chain who can make the difference with the people that they're working with. So it's really exciting. Done a few keynote speeches,
almost like a consultancy role.
Yeah, sort of. It's just to have that conversation really, and just explore those sort of insights into why it's important that dads are sort of validated, so to speak, and a part of this journey, not just into new and expecting dads, but further down the line of when their child is going into teenage years, is starting the primary school, is going to infants, is now becoming, you know, a bit more independent, is to equip dads, but not just also about the fatherhood stuff, but not to forget they are people themselves, and to have an exit route themselves, because as you know with yours, sometimes when you have a child or children, you lose a bit of yourself, not in a bad way, but your focus is your child, making sure that they're okay, their needs are met, they're safe, they're sound, and we all worry about our kids for the, you know, but we sort of forget a bit about ourselves. So sometimes it's giving a bit back to ourselves, because if we're not in a position to look after ourselves, how can we look after other people, which is said countless times over.
I think the way I see it is, rather than maybe not losing a bit of yourself, I think what happens, so like identity is made up of many different things. So like me, my identity is I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a business owner, I'm a friend, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, all these things, that's my identity. I think when you become a dad, all of a sudden that is a new part of the identity, but it's so big it blocks out some of the others. And sometimes then you kind of, you know, you forget, well, not forget, but you overshadow maybe being the business owner or being the husband or being the friend. And I think there's an order of significance, isn't there? And a lot of the time, like, I mean, listen, how many people listening to this have experienced this? Because I bet you it's pretty much 99% of you. A friend of yours has a newborn baby. You know and account for the fact that you probably aren't going to see them for a couple of years. You know what I mean? They're gone now, off the scene. But that's maybe really important time that we naturally sacrifice. Head of the list is like, well, order of significance, I'm now a dad. Dad is number one priority, as it should be. But you then allow that to grow so big that it swallows some of the others. So now friendships suffer to the point where you completely withdraw from them. And that time is actually really valuable to you, not just your friend, but to you, to have that, like you mentioned, that time to yourself. That's how I see it. I see it as it like almost like bubbles, and then the dad bubble gets so big it blocks out some of the others.
It's important that we don't become. COVID was the worst thing, because people become isolated, especially new parents become isolated. You know, dad maybe couldn't go in with mum to theatre because of obviously.
That was a horrific time, mate.
It was an absolutely mad time for people. But it's just really to just say, look, you know, go and have that pint with your mate. Go back to playing football. Go back and have a walk. Go and, you know, pop and see that person. Go and give them a call. You know, fatherhood, parenthood is amazing, and it'll always be amazing. There'll be a rocky road here and there. There'll be some bumps in the road. We'll navigate it, because they are our children to look after. That is our job as parents, to try and protect them, look after them as best we can. But also, it's just not to forget who we are, because I know sometimes I felt, you know, I love being a dad, and I was happy at that point to go, yeah, that's I was not Jacob Guy anymore. I'm Eliza Guy's dad, and that's fine. I love that. That feels like a bit of a purpose.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes in life, you know, relationships maybe don't stand the test of time, or, you know, another child comes along or another child comes along, and then, you know, the dynamics change and stuff. So, you know, from my perspective with JSG, it was more so just to get out there and have a chat to professionals, charities, and do those keynote speeches, those presentations, those workshops, and just, you know, the importance of validating dads, the importance of toxic masculinity. What is it? What is it all about? Because it's very prevalent at the moment, as we said.
It's a huge subject. So, I mean, let's talk about that for a bit. Like, expand on that for me, Jacob.
Well, before I expand on it, the importance of having a father figure in a child's life. The child will thrive far more with both parents in it. Sometimes dads are isolated from relationships because the relationship might have fallen apart. It might be that dad has just decided that this isn't for him. He doesn't want to be a part of it. He can't offer something. It may be Ace's adverse childhood experiences that's made him go, look, I had a shit dad. I'm going to be a shit dad. I don't want my kid to witness that. But the whole toxic masculinity, it's just like we said at the beginning, just being open and honest and talking about your feelings and breaking down that stigma that we're in a time now where men and women are going to do things. There's a lot more equality in life, and we discussed that before. Whereas in, you know, you're looking abroad and in other countries at the moment, and statutory paternity and things like that in other countries are very different, and dads are staying at home more. Mums are in, as we've discussed before, mums are in stupidly high-powered jobs in which, you know, it takes them away. They're travelling and they're doing it. So the parent load is shared between mum and dad now, whereas in before it was always seen that mum had to do everything with the kid, dad just went to work. Those days have gone a long time ago, and I think that it's really important that we, you know, do address those conversations of like misogyny and things like that, where people feel that no, I'm a male, so I can't be this, because, you know, and having that little divide between male and female. We're a very equal time now, and I think that that's just something that we need to embrace more, and maybe have that conversation more, that, you know, we're creating that for the next generation to know that that's okay for men to have feelings and talk about how they feel and not be judged as a result of it. You know, mum and dad to come together, or co-parents come together, or parent how they're going to. I think toxic masculinity will be something that'll be a topic for the next couple of years in breaking that cycle.
What do you think toxic masculinity is? What's your opinion on that?
So I've seen different sides of it, and I've heard different things. For me, I would try to do it as it being a positive thing. That toxic masculinity is not, I feel, not wanting to face masculinity and it being a negative thing, that you've got to put barriers in place to go, I can't talk about my feelings, I don't want to be seen to have that. Whereas if you're more open and honest, I think it breaks those barriers. And I know it's tough for guys because we're seen as being the strong, dominant type that, you know, can protect everyone and everything, but it's only so long that we can do that for.
So essentially, I guess a mindset that's actually detrimental to the self would be your thinking on it.
I think personally, chasing something that maybe is not necessarily there and has maybe changed now.
Old school values. Of the classic masculinity, as it were.
See,
I'm on the fence with it, mate. I think toxic masculinity, when used to discuss what you've just said, is valid, and it's a conversation that needs to be had. I think we just need to accept that masculinity and strength does not come from bottling up and withholding and containing, and that you can share and be open about your thoughts and feelings and still be strong, still be an alpha male, still be, you know, like a strong man, a masculine man, but still be able to talk about the fact that you've got thoughts and feelings. I've always got this, like, I don't know, I always get prickled with the term toxic masculinity because I think it gets weaponised against men. You know, I was going to say us then.
Trying to be too strong,
I think,
too manly or too masculine.
I think it's a term that has been weaponised. I think the toxic element of it is quite often actually just implied that all masculinity is toxic, because those two words get lumped together.
Yeah.
And there's no clear definition then. So people start talking about toxic masculinity. It's like, well, which bits of masculinity are toxic? And, you know, like, to me, there are certain male traits that are genetic. Like, we, on a functional human level, men are predisposition to behave and do certain things in the majority, not everyone. I know there's always outliers, but, you know, like, a lot of men will enjoy, you know, things like contact sports, fighting, like combat sports, stuff like that. And yes, I know that there are women that enjoy that too, but I'm talking about, you know, the percentiles, as it were. So, like, there's a higher percentile of men that will enjoy certain things in comparison to women, and there are certain activities that more women enjoy than men. That's just nature. I think to deny that is ludicrous, personally. And that's where, like, the whole toxic masculinity thing, I think it just gets weaponized. That if you, so here we go, right? I use myself as an example. I've said quite often, my purpose, I feel one of my key purposes in life is to provide and protect for my family. As the man of the house, as the father of my kids, and as the husband to my wife. I feel like it's my purpose to provide and protect. There are people in society that would label that as toxic masculinity, because why should I, you know, why should it not be my wife's job to provide and protect for me?
I think that's a valid point.
And it's seen as I'm taking that away from her and keeping it all to myself, which is utter bollocks. Like, my wife she's an entrepreneur herself. She's a business owner. She does her own thing. Like, I've never tried to, you know, put a ceiling on her ambitions ever. And anyone that knows her knows that that's the truth. I couldn't if I tried to. But at the same time, I will provide and protect for her. And at the same time, she enjoys me protecting and providing for her. And that makes her feel good. That makes me feel good. And it works. But, as I said, the toxic masculinity conversation, it gets lumped into that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then where I think the issue with that lies is then it can leave some men wondering what their position in life is, their purpose. Yeah, and it's almost like, well, we're taking that away from you, but we're not providing a replacement. So if you're going to take something off men and say, well, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this, well, what are we replacing that with? Because a lot of people are just left with a void, and they then don't really know where they should be. They don't feel that they should belong. Yeah. And then, unfortunately, what that then does is push people to the other extremes, and you've got your Andrew Tates.
Yes.
You know, and that it's because men are searching for belonging, but they can't find a healthy version. So they've got the extreme version on the other side. You see where the problem lies?
Oh, 100%. And I think you bang on there with regards to lumping them together, because it is a little bit of a, you know, sometimes, and this isn't, I'm just saying this is how people sometimes see it. Sometimes people do feel that society has gone a bit soft with, I don't know, certain terminologies and certain things are said, you know, like, you know, man up, you know, that's not necessarily something that you're going to say to somebody who's really struggling with general life, but you could say that to someone else who would say, whatever, you know. And I think that because we live in a time now where people are far more open about their feelings, you know, we've got to, in a roundabout way, try to build resilience and support people in guiding them through where they need to be. So for me, toxic masculinity is something that does come up. There's a conversation that we have. The importance of fathers within their child's lives is things that pop up. But with the JSG stuff that I've been doing, is a conversation with the charities and the professionals. Is you're working with these guys, what is it that you feel that they need? And then if it's areas which are above where I am in my experience and my education and my qualification, it may be that, like I said, there's enough seats at the table that I can say, you know what, we're covering this subject. I know this person is very good. These are the people that you need to speak to. And then there's an element of facilitation, an element of consultancy, pushing people and coordinating it, because sometimes when we haven't got the answers, it's better that we can give the answers from somebody who knows
Mate,
about it, instead of trying to bluff your way through it, because you could be potentially putting someone's life at risk.
Mate,
so it's really important that they're getting the correct support or guidance or information than me going, oh yeah, I'll go online and have a quick look at that. How hard could it be? Well, this person that I'm signposting them to is bloody experienced and will know a lot of stuff, a lot more than I will. And I'm not embarrassed to admit that. I would prefer someone to go, oh, look, you know what, Jacob with JSG, he's equipped to deal with that. So we'll send him that way. And I would do the same with them. So I'm quite lucky that I'm sort of in a bit of a consortium of people that we all sort of bounce off each other and have all got an area of expertise. So, you know, as part of toxic masculinity, we do, you know, we can cover, and you do talk about things about the importance of healthy relationships, you know, the importance of communication, the importance of managing conflict and things like that. Because sometimes when you do have a child, sometimes, you know, sleep deprivation and all these things are going on and then the relationship can take a hit. So it's, you know, you don't want to be bagging someone out all the time just because you're tired and you're a bit emotional, you're a bit, you know, you're a bit short. So we, you know, something that is going forward is the importance of healthy relationships, you know, that there's no control, coercion. There's no, you know, like you saying, taking the mantra of being the male, the dominant force, and you know, is great. That works. But then some people might go, you know what? Actually, no, I don't want that. You know, it just, I suppose every family dynamic is very different. Some
Absolutely,
like it, some
mate.
don't.
Yeah.
And I think we've all known that is what us as guys want to do. We want to protect. That's not to say Mum doesn't want to protect. She does, and she will protect. But us as parents, us as dads, we can set a good example and become a role model and fill that void, because unfortunately, if we're not there as fathers, male or female, sometimes we may put our child at risk of exploitation somewhere along the line and needs to get their needs met through someone who's going to give them attention to take advantage of them. So I think it's really important us as you know, role models. Don't get me wrong, there's absolutely millions amazing dads out there who would run a leg for their child or children and do everything. But there's also some shit dads out there who just, not for me. Not, you know, and they may have their reasons for that, and that's down to them. But guys now want to be more hands-on. They want to be validated. They want to be involved. They want to just be a good dad, be on hand to help their child through whatever it is. And especially now, unfortunately, kids are now in this life with having phones a bit earlier, that they're probably exposed to things that they shouldn't be exposed to, which then is a conversation about mental health at a young age.
Jacob, the landscape of parenting is changing all the time.
Too fast.
Yeah, and like you say, the phones, the social media, AI, it's just this ocean of information that kids can get hold of instantly. And we've got to adapt to that. It's funny, actually, you mentioned like the relationship thing and educating people on controlling or coercive relationships and being, you know, making sure that masculinity is not. I think what you've said is a great example around toxic masculinity, and it's highlighting, I think what it's highlighting is actually actions and behaviour that people hide behind under the guise of masculinity. It's like, well, I do that because I'm a strong man, I'm an alpha male, that's why I do that. Oh no, mate, you're just a prick. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it's hiding behind an excuse. So having that reflection, you can be masculine, male, alpha male, we would come out of all these terms, but you can still be, you know, perceptive of your own thoughts, feelings, and other people's thoughts and feelings. But I was talking actually for a guest I had sat in that chair on Saturday, Holly from Rise with Holly, who does like coaching, and she said the thing is, we don't ever get taught about healthy relationships.
No,
you don't get taught it in schools. When do you learn? Do you learn from telly? Do you learn from examples set from your parents? Do your parents teach you? Like, where do you learn what constitutes healthy behaviour in a relationship? And when she said that, I was like, actually,
You hope that it's a bit of give and take, don't you? That this,
where do you learn
I don't
that,
think you do. When you look at things like, listen, this isn't digging out curriculums. They're tough to navigate, but sometimes there's a lot of life skills that people are not learning. And then you get to adult life and you're like, shit, where do I start with this one? I didn't even know about this. And I think sometimes, like, I know that you can't be everything to everyone and it's not one size fits all. It isn't. I suppose it's just case by case, isn't it? Scenario by scenario. But it makes you think, God, I didn't think of that.
See, she said that, and so I've had time to process my thoughts on it. And my initial response to it was, well, to be honest, as parents, we also have to accept responsibility to teach our kids things that the schools don't. Can't be the schools that teach our kids everything. As parents, we have to be the ones to step up and teach our kids how a healthy relationship looks, how healthy male and female behaviour looks in a relationship. But then the caveat to that is, what about all those kids that haven't got the parents that are capable, willing or able to do that? What about all the kids that have got the abusive example being set to them as kids? Who's teaching them healthy relationship behaviour?
Right from wrong as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what works for one doesn't, it isn't 2.4 children anymore. Unfortunately, stats will show that, there probably is a lot of kids within schools and stuff that are having to deal with mum and dad splitting up, or, we live in a different time, same-sex relationships. There's a lot, it's different now. It's not just a substandard mum, dad, brother, sister. That's it. Those days have long gone. So, we are in a very inclusive world now, a very, the generation that my daughter's in are probably going to be a lot more accommodating to everything and see it as the norm, which in some ways is good. I think there's a lot of positives to come from that, because, I think about when I was a kid, if I was like out with my mum and say, for example, like there was a wheelchair user and I would look for too long, my mum would be like, what are you staring at? I'd be like, well, and my mum was like, wheelchair user or not, they're no different to you or I. And that was how I was brought up as a kid, is to be as inclusive as possible, and that was, whether someone was black, white, rich, poor, tall, short, you treated everyone the same. Like, if someone was a dick, well, you just didn't bother with them. That was just that's how I was brought up, and my two brothers. And, I've always tried to be as inclusive as possible where possible, because I think it's just nice to be nice, isn't it? You don't need 100%, to be
mate. Yeah,
dick.
Absolutely. There are certain people, I look at some of the environments I was raised in when I was a kid and some of the mindsets that were imposed upon me, and it was like, well, this is the norm, we don't like them people.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why?
Why? That's your
question, to be honest,
as a kid.
Yeah, it is. But when you're told repeatedly, we don't like those people, there's an element of being a kid where your mind will just go, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's the norm.
Yeah, all right, well, we don't like them. It's only when you get older and you then realise, actually, hold on, let's start questioning things here. And listen, mate, it's a question that I posed to you. I don't know the answer. Like, we do have to educate people on relationships, but who's there to do it? Is it the school? Is it the state? Is it the parents? Is it the family? It is.
You probably need it's probably a taboo subject, because, sometimes those traumas of a child watching mum and dad's relationship fall apart, it might not be an amicable one. It may be a really amicable one. There could potentially be affairs. There could potentially just be falling out of love. There's so many different scenarios that you
and obviously,
can put in that.
As a parent, you don't disclose everything to your children either.
No.
Like, I've been through a divorce. I didn't sit there and talk to my kids about how I was feeling about my ex-wife to them. In fact, I tried to shelter them. I tried to put the umbrella over and keep everything away from them. They probably saw and learnt and heard loads more than I wanted them to. But it's then working out what the best way to deal with it is, really. A child is going to process their emotions very differently to an adult. How much do you tell them? How much do you withhold? How much do you protect? And then sometimes you do more damage by trying to protect than if you'd have been open.
Yeah.
And these are the questions, mate. Questions I'm posing. I don't know the answer.
No, I've been in something similar myself. I've just come out of a divorce. It was quite a dragged out divorce in which there was various house was sold, everything was good, moving on into start a new life, and then all of a sudden there was radio silence from the other side, and the buyers got frustrated and pulled out. So my house is now recently sold, so the divorce is done, but within that there was relationships break down, and that's a lot of the reason why I'd sort of jumped into the JSG stuff, is it helped me through quite a tough time. Don't get me wrong, there's people out there who've been in far worse situations than me. There's people who've been in lesser situations than me. But me talking about the importance of physical health and my experience, it helped me navigate a really shit situation, because I did have accusations of domestic abuse, which made me really shit myself, because I was like, well, what happens if people believe this nonsense? I coach my daughter's football team, I help out at the school, I do this job, I do that. But that was just brought up to my solicitor. Nothing more was said about it. And it was just, I don't know whether it was flexing muscles, what it was. But I was like, no, you know what? No, I'm not gonna do this. This isn't me. I haven't done anything wrong in that sense. I've got nothing to hide. So I threw myself, but to get through that situation, I was out running more. I was, maybe doing more. I've always been quite into fitness and do well, but throwing myself into things, trying to do 10Ks quicker, challenging myself to get out there, because I needed to take my mind away from it. Then there was various accusations that I wasn't looking after my daughter correctly. I wasn't feeding her correctly. I wasn't washing her hair in the correct products. I wasn't putting the heating on at the house. I wasn't washing her clothes correctly. All these things that was just said. I don't even know why it was said, but there was no truth in it. And again, I went back into that zone of, right, I need to get myself out of this position, so I'm going to throw myself into doing this. Thankfully, I've got amazing people around me that, sat and listened and stuck around longer than potentially they needed to help me out. And then there was the later thing now, the more recent one is obviously the divorce is done, the house is sold. So there's progression moving forward, which has felt like a bit more of a weight off my shoulder. But there is a bit of an issue with the sort of co-parenting. So, working through my position, there's 50-50 shared care been agreed, 50-50 equity on the house. Unfortunately, I've had to lose part of my pension as part of the financial settlement. So it was quite stressful stuff. But coming out of the other side of that, more recently, I told my daughter off. Going back to what you said, there was a number of things being told to my daughter. And in the end, I'd got to a point where I was like, right, well, I'm going to stop not saying anything and say what. And my daughter got upset with it and was a bit annoyed and frustrated at me, in which then I didn't see my daughter up for, because she didn't want to see me, which was really hurtful, really, I understand she's 11. So it's not really for her to be making these decisions. Yeah. But she wanted to stay with her mum. So I didn't see her for nearly 2 weeks. And now she's come back and she's staying. She's come over, but only had tea and going home at 7 o'clock. So hopefully it goes back to the overall. Mate, so it's been tough, mate. It's been a tough, I know you can't walk in someone else's shoes, but I felt it really hard for me. That was why I threw myself. So I'm practicing what I preach to people and working with dads, seen as a professional, seen as this, but it can happen to anyone, because I never foreseen this happening to me, and I'm not playing a victim, because I'm resilient. I got my head down and I got through it, and it was tough, but I work with guys that are telling me about parent alienation and blackmail, bribery and manipulation and stuff, and there's some tough times for guys out there, so you can see why 100%. Guys struggle.
First of all, mate, what I can say is I can resonate 1,000,000% with what you're saying. Been through it. I've never, and I won't discuss details around that, because if I'm being honest, mate, there's two sides to every story, and the truth is probably in the middle. So in terms of my own situation, I don't discuss the details. What I can say is my experience from my side, and I've been through that. And also I think it needs addressing, really, is the difficulty of being the parent that potentially, so my situation, I wasn't the official caregiver, whatever. So my kids both lived with my ex-partner, and there's definitely a pressure as the father potentially that doesn't have the kids of that, being on eggshells all the time. Well, I can't tell them off, because if I tell them off, they don't like it.
Come.
Then
And that
even though
started
you can be
making me
complete,
think that now.
exactly, and it's horrible, mate. It really is, that eggshell feeling of, I either correct the situation and then risk the alienation, because now where your child is, they're now in a position to punish you.
Yeah.
Whereas that's not a natural balance between parent and child.
About this, pal, until recently,
Yeah.
until I've been in this position. And
that's the trade-off now.
Yeah.
Is that you can punish your child, but they can punish you back.
Yeah.
They can turn around and go, well, yeah, I didn't like the fact, even though how wrong they might have been, I don't like the fact that you punished me, so I'm going to punish you, I'm not going to see you. Which is really cruel. They don't see it that way, but it does, as the parent on the other side of that, does put you in a strained position. It's a hard one, mate. I've been working through this for the last 10 years with my situation. So my son moved in with me. He's lived with me since he was 15. My daughter still lives with my ex-wife. You almost have to redefine your role as a parent.
Yeah.
Which is really tough.
And I'm sort of, even though this was a bit long-winded, 2 years or whatever it is, I'm not on here to bag anyone out or tell half stories or whatever. I won't go into any more detail than what I've said. There's lots I could say. I won't say that because it's not the right time or the place, and it's not about that. As long as I get to see my daughter 50-50, the shared care, I'm happy with that. No more, no less. And and her having her mother in her life is great. Having her father in her life is great. But this last week or just under 2 weeks was really tough because it was like, wow, I've never seen this one coming, and we've got a really close relationship. Okay, I if I've upset her and, I apologised and said, well, look, if there's stuff that we can talk about, do you want to brush it under the carpet and move on? And I know now how you feel, or do you want to have a chat about it? That's a conversation that we will need to have. But, I do feel a little bit like, I felt a little bit like a bit of a weekend dad just here and there, which was something that I've never wanted it to be. So I think it's really important that, even though that I'm working on these different things and then do the work with the people that I'm doing stuff, it can happen to anybody, and these things happen. It's part of life. People get divorced, they fall out of love, other people come into their lives, things change, and that's unfortunately part of life. And I lost a lot of the person who I was. I lost my self-respect and was fighting for something that potentially was never going to resolve. And I look back at it now and think, life goes on and life's better. Life can be better, and you can work and you can use all those things to your advantage. JSG was something that I was like, you know what, this is something that I'm passionate about. I would like to do more with it. In the For Dads, By Dads, that remit is very different to what I'm going to be doing here, which is great. So I just thought, you know what, I don't need to take a massive plunge. I can just do a bit here and there. The keynote speeches and the things like that, which is something that I've always wanted.
You never know where that will grow to, though, Jacob.
No, exactly. And to be honest, I love my full-time job, and I love the For Dads, By Dads is a big part of my job because I've made it a big part of my job as a project that is growing. We'll adapt that and move it forward. But having that little bit of stuff with JSG is nice, to come to these and do opportunities like this with you, and on the days when I haven't got my daughter and I can work it around, that is ideal. That's why I need consistency, because you don't know where you are from one day to another. But if I know that she's with me on I can
Jacob,
work
this
off that.
is oddly, this is one of those paths where you can pull that thread and you can sort of go, well, you never intended on not being a full-time dad, but the fact that you're now not, and you've created JSG to alleviate a pressure point in your life, there's no telling where this could go. So then there's no telling, if you go backwards, if that hadn't have happened, this might not have happened. And it's that, the butterfly effect, the ripple, that sometimes great good can come from what at the time feels really shit.
Yeah.
A shit event that happens. For example, like my wife recently, I can't actually say what it is. She's been given an opportunity that has purely come off the back of a situation where she moved business. There were issues, very, very stressful time in her life. And a little bit like you, when she was going through that, she started another project. And then that project has led to another opportunity, which now could be really, really big for her, life-changing for her. which would never have happened if it wasn't for the adversity at the start, which is the point I was trying to make, is that sometimes, and that's the thing, when you're in, for want of a better expression, when you're in the shit, sometimes all you can smell is shit. You can't see that shit is going to create flowers. You know what I mean? It's going to fertilise the ground, which is then going to... That's quite philosophical for me, to be fair. But it's going to fertilise the ground that is then going to grow flowers. But when all you can see is the fertiliser, it smells like shit.
But we persist, don't we? We persist, we perpetuate, we prevail. That's how we do it in those three. Yeah. You know, we can turn a shit situation into a good one. And you know, we can... I struggled when I didn't have my daughter a lot. So when it went to the shared care, when we'd formally split up, it was a bit of a tough one because I'd gone from being with her a lot to... And I was lost. I was trying to fill my time. I was trying to do different things. And I was like, wow, it was really hard. And then over time then, I suppose you get used to it. And it's like, okay, I need my own time. She needs her own time. Yeah. You know, her mum needs her time with her. Great. Yeah. So everyone's sort of in a position. So if we can get back to that, that would be absolutely amazing. But it's just to show that you can build resilience and just throw yourself into things to sort of get yourself, like you said, through a shit situation. It won't be shit forever.
It takes time to adjust, mate, doesn't it? I'll revert to my bubble analogy that when you become a dad, that big bubble gets so big it obscures everything else. When you go through a breakup, it's like somebody popped the bubble. Now the bubble's tiny again. Potentially, it's, you know, for dads out there that become weekend or a couple of nights a week, that bubble's now 30% of the size that it was. Yeah. So now you've got this landscape where that little bubble is now 30% of the size, but because it obscured everything else before, you've now just got a void. And it takes a bit of time to build the other stuff up to have that complete life again, you know? And I felt that, mate. It was fucking horrific, where I went from being full-time dad to very part-time dad, never anything I wanted. But what it left me with almost overnight was void. Yeah. And then you're searching, desperately searching, because the last thing I wanted to do, mate, was sit in that void. Yeah. So I was desperately, well, what can I feel? Can I feel that we're going to the pub? Can I feel that we're going out? Can I feel that we're playing football? Can I feel that we're going to the gym? Yeah. And it's being very careful when you're in that moment to not fill it with stuff that's bad for you.
Well, you could easily, you know, it's not for me, but drink, drugs, whatever. Like I like going out with my mates, having a few pints, or going out and with the people close to me, you know, and doing whatever. But that can be a slippery slope. And I remember early on, went out a few times and I was like, shit, I'm eventually now going to turn into that guy who's out every weekend that you would look at when you weren't out every weekend and go, oh my God, that person's out all the time. Yeah. And then I was like, and then over time I started to get used to it. And then it got into a routine of like, right, this is what we're going to do. You know, I'm on these days and such a thing, which is great. But, you know, she starts to comp in September. So she's on a very, you know, she's on an emotional path now of going into that change of you know, going from transition to comp, from primary to comp and stuff. But she's really excited about it, which is amazing for her. Right. And, you know, I will stand there and do whatever I need to do, because there's going to come a point now where I'm not going to be a cool dad anymore. She's at that age where now I'm not a cool dad. Listen, I need to get you out of the way.
My daughter's a year ahead. So she went upper school last year, and my daughter's amazing. She really is. She's so emotionally intelligent as well as intelligent, very mature, very savvy. But there's that point, and I've always said the same to both of my kids as they were growing up, which was, look, you don't ever have to come and see me. For context, my daughter is 250 miles. They're like 3.5 hours away. Yeah. So I can't see her in the week. It's not feasible. Yeah. So I see her every other weekend, and then like she's up for a couple of weeks in the summer, a couple of weeks at Easter, a couple of weeks, you know, I'll do as much as I can, which I always feel is not enough. But what I'm now hitting is she gets to that age where it's like, Dad, have we got anything planned on our weekend? Because it's my mate so-and-so's birthday party and I really don't want to miss it. And then we can't move weekends around because like I've got plans or my ex has got plans. So what that now means for me is that when my daughter don't come up for a weekend, I don't see her for a month, which is, it's horrible. I completely understand it. There's no resentment. I understand it from her perspective. she's a kid, you know, and
I'm starting to understand it. It's taken me a
yeah,
while to
and to kids,
understand it.
mate, like, because they're so in the moment, which is kind of beautiful. If she misses that party, it is the end of the world.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's the fear of missing out, and she's developing her social skills. She's becoming who she's becoming. She's this ace little person, and part of that is developing these friendships.
Yeah.
And I would never want her to miss an opportunity. But then, from the selfish dad perspective,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to not see her for that long, you know. So it's tough, man. It really is. I went through it with my son. He kind of hit this age where every other weekend it'd be like, oh, Dad, I've got these plans or those plans, and he wasn't coming up very often. Then all of a sudden he was up all the time, and then he ended up moving in with me. But with my daughter, yeah, we're in that like on and off period at the moment where it's never because she's like she doesn't want to come. It's because there's something going on. But it's a hard one, man. It's hard. It's hard from a dad's perspective. And then you know what that does, though, Jacob. Straight away, it leaves me with that void, because then I'm like, well, I haven't booked any podcast recordings in because it's my weekend with my daughter. My wife's at work because she thought, you know,
You were working, you had your daughter.
yeah. So like everything is planned around her being there, and then she's not, and then I'm left in that void.
Yeah.
A little one. It's not as big as it used to be, but that, and then I still get that feeling of like, oh shit, what do I do with myself now? What I need to. That's where I need to work on myself, because I always have to fill that time, fill that space. Yeah. It's like, well, what can I do?
I've thrown myself into stuff. You know,
you sound very similar.
Promote the JSG stuff through, you know, the Facebook, the Instagram. You know, doing stuff now with this website development and stuff, and it's just growing it nice and slow. I'm not going to run before I can walk. It's just trying to make a difference with the people that I work with, which is really exciting, and it's given me more and more purpose in what I want to do, filling that void.
Mate. Keyword.
You know,
purpose,
I think that's why, you know, because I was a bit lost, but I know from a selfish perspective, I would have happily had my daughter full time. It wouldn't have bothered me.
Yeah.
I would have loved that. But the reality is she needs her mum in her life, and she needs, I think 50-50 shared care is pretty fair, pretty equal, and I think it would benefit both of us, and it has, and it was. Hopefully it'll go back to where it was now that she's, you know, my daughter was upset, and for that, you know, Jacob, however much I love her to bits, it was something that, you know, she's at that age now, and she's at an emotional age where maybe things are not just brushed off as quick as what they were. So
you'll have the other side of it to deal with as well, because at some point she'll fall out with her mum, and then she'll come to you, because again, the kids, they're going through that transition of working out the new playing field, the new lay of the land. And there's always a moment, I've had it with mine, where they do try and play one off against the other.
Yeah, of course. And I think I've been in that initial stage recently, but
it'll come back round in reverse.
To encourage her to just be like, look, however much your mum might have annoyed you, have tonight with me, but you need to really be going back tomorrow, because I think that's just the way to play it. But, you know, we'll get there, and there's positives. So the JSG stuff is something now that I can work on and do different bits and bobs on, and just do it, grow it organically, and just do the little bits that I need to do as I go, which there's a few opportunities have been coming up, which has been great. You know, managed to work with some amazing people and looking to do this consortium stuff. So it's exciting.
Well, if people want to get in touch with you, because as my network grows, there are people that are business owners or brand owners and things like that. If somebody's listening to this and thinks, I could do with getting in for a talk with my workforce or whatever it might be, how could somebody get in touch with you at JSG to discuss what you do?
Sorry, JSG Health for Dads. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Like I said, be looking at stuff with LinkedIn as well moving forward. Was using X, and then when I changed my phone over, for some reason it wouldn't allow me to load it and log into it and stuff. So I've had a few issues with that. And then there's I'm going to be doing something with the website, pretty much a WordPress. It'll be quite basic to start off with, because that's probably about my caliber, to be honest, with IT. So yeah, it's just a case of just getting in touch, really, just inbox, quite active on social media, try and put things out a couple of times a week about different things, you know, not just about what I'm doing. It's inspirational quotes, it's things that people might look at and go, oh shit, that's me. Or, you know, I didn't think of that. But, you know, it's about just trying to do little bits and bobs and just trying to make a difference where I can. That's what I wanted to do. feel it's giving me a purpose to fill that little bit of a void. But it's really exciting to work with different people, but also meet new people as well in that. I've met some amazing people, guys that have come on your podcasts and, from your networking events as well, which, I've had Mark Williams, I've had Cherie Williams, I've had Gareth Wall, Dan Newman, there's been Tidy Butt, there's been so many people that, in my full-time job capacity and also in JSG have been really inspirational and also a bit of a mentor really to me, because when I started the stuff with that, it was, oh wow, shit, where do I go with this? Because this is like new to me. I've never really done this before. So it was meeting people in different areas. We've managed to have, and Ira and Bevan are doing a lot more hands-on stuff with men, and there's a lot of more men's groups out there. I've regularly chatted to Nathan Cook, who's just started Andy's Man Club in Chepstow, which is massive. Obviously, they've got one in Abergavenny, which isn't too far from Chepstow, and then Nathan started the one in Chepstow, which has become a success. So it's keeping an eye on what's going on in the community and trying to support it, because not all men are going to be dads. They're not going to be, but if I can signpost to groups like that, because Andy's Man Club have gone through the roof now.
Oh, fantastic, man! Yeah,
getting
yeah,
bigger and bigger all the time.
Yeah.
So to show, the work that they're doing, the work that Tidy Butt are doing, Marauders, walks that those guys are doing, is men's walk talk. There's, You're Never Alone, which is another thing in Chepstow. There's so much more out there for guys now, which is brilliant to see. So there's some guys out there who are going above and beyond to make a difference, which is inspiring. So it makes you feel a part in that cog.
But an important part, mate. That's the thing. I think it just shows that when we come together, when we bring all of the attention of the facilitators together, that's where the difference is made, because it's that whole thing, isn't it? It's like you're a lot stronger together than you are on your own, and you building your network. I'd like to think that I'm part of this, your network, you're part of my network.
100%.
If anybody in your area were to, do you know what I mean? It's being able to, like you said, to signpost and creating this. Because one of the things that I keep saying at the moment is sort of come to the realisation, it's an obvious one, but nobody is coming to save us. And the most powerful thing we can do is save ourselves and save each other. And that comes in the form of doing the work on yourself and also doing the work for others. So I think one of the most powerful things, like you're bringing it together with bringing dads, not only with your expertise, but linking them up and giving them that peer support group.
But there's always got to be an exit route. It's got to be, prime example from sport. Sport is a big catalyst for me for everything. It helps navigate me through tough situations. This has been some really tough stuff, but I've got through it as a result of throwing myself into the sport, which has been great. It's like a snooker player, isn't it? They're thinking 2, 3, 4, 5 shots ahead. That's what we've got to be thinking. We've got to be more proactive than reactive.
Yes.
To things. So if we're sort of foreseeing, I came up to see you a few months ago when you did the networking event. Met some really good people, which was amazing. And I keep an eye on what they're doing on social media. They keep an eye on what I'm doing. So these opportunities to grow yourself and have these conversations, and it's not a competition. I'm seeing some of the guys that you're working with yourself and guys within your network of people going on and doing some really good things. And that makes you, in the skateboarding perspective, when someone does something good, you bang your board. That is exactly like, you want to see people be successful. You don't want to, oh God, look at that guy, he's doing this. There's plenty of seats at the table, and we should be wanting everybody to do, because it's for the greater good. So that's all we need is to give someone a pat on the back and say, oh, good work, well done. A lot of these guys in your network I wouldn't have met. I met a few of them through obviously coming to this event, but also seeing their podcasts. That was the first time that I met them. Great people. And if I bumped into them again, I could stop and have a chat with them, and they'd be complimenting me on my work. I'd be complimenting them on their work. And that's what it is. It's not us and them.
I'm loving seeing it. Some of the former guests now are like, doing charity work together.
Yeah.
And it's that beautiful thing of, like you said, that people are going on and doing some incredible stuff, but they're all climbing that mountain and then turning round and pulling each other up.
Yeah.
And it's, yes, I've achieved this, but now I'm in this position. Who can I help?
It's all good and well flying to the top quickly, but sometimes when you're pushing your way to the top and treading on people and shitting on them on the way up, when you're coming down and they're on the way, the same thing's going to happen. So you just help each other. If you help each other, you all get to your common goal.
You've said it yourself, mate. There's plenty of room at the table. It's a massive space. I mean, how many people in the UK are there? How many men in the UK are there? Mental health affects everybody. How many fathers in the UK are there? Mental health affects all of them.
Of course.
They all need to. It's so vast. And I think surrounding yourself with positive people, making positive moves, positive change, it's a really powerful thing you can do in the space.
But also going off that and saying about physical health, when I'm saying about that, people automatically, the people I work with, like, oh yeah, but then they're not that active. They're not. But it could be a walk, it could be a jog, it could be going back to playing football, it could be going back to. But it will help you navigate it when it releases those endorphins and that self worth and self-belonging as part of whether it's a team or an individual sport or doing something, challenging yourself. Can I walk 1k? Or I'll do 2k, or I'll do 3k. Can I start off and do Sugarloaf? Can I then do Penny Van? Can I start doing, there's ways and means and everything. Even going through that, I started doing walks then with my AirPods so I could take calls, so I could get out and walk, because I needed to be out at that time. I needed to be out and I needed to be doing something, because otherwise I'd have procrastinated and then I'd have felt like shit. So that was, there's, however, as soon as we bring up physical, it doesn't necessarily mean, oh my God, I can't do it. You can do it. Find something that suits you, and it will help you become resilient, resourceful, and it will help you through some really tough situations. Hopefully you don't have to go through some shit situations in your life. That is the main goal.
I'll be honest, mate. Listen, fucking truth here. Very unlikely.
Exactly.
Life is.
If you've gone through nothing, you're very lucky.
Life is hard, mate, and some of the times it's a weird one. A little bit like I was saying about using adversity in a positive spin. The fertilizer and the flower. It's, if you never go through adversity, you never go through hard and tough times, you're not really going to fully appreciate the good times.
No.
You got to have that perspective.
No, I completely agree. And I think that's it. I think it builds resilience as well, isn't it? It's like a baby.
Yes.
If they're around, I know it sounds bad, but, they do catch, germs and things. It builds the immune system. If they don't, well, they will end up crashing at some point in later life, not later life, but further down the road into...
1,000,000%, mate. If a baby was born and you were to somehow manage to like vacuum seal it, raise it, give it all its nutrients and grow it up in a vacuum sealed sterile environment and raise it into like a 40-year-old person, the minute that person went out in the street, they'd probably be killed by a common cold.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a cough.
And I think that's where we need to build that. It's just about building resilience.
Well said, mate. Well said.
There we go.
Mate, it's been a pleasure.
Always.
It's been a pleasure catching up. I'm very conscious you've got to get, this man here's got to get a train back down to Wales. I haven't got a watch on, so I don't know what the time is.
20 to 7, so we're all right. We're good.
Perfect, mate. That's perfect time.
It's worth it, pal. I appreciate you, giving me the time and the space to come in today and the times that I've been in before, if there's anything that I
always
can do
with
people, just give us a shout and
always
we'll
an
see
open
where
door. There'll be more. I've got to put something together, mate. Advance warning to those listening. I think I'm over 90 episodes. I'm going to have to do something for 100.
100%.
Going to have to do something for 100. But Jacob, again, mate, massive thank you for your time. Just before we do wrap up, just tell everyone again where they can find you.
Yeah, so JSG Health for Dads. We are on Facebook, Instagram. I will be getting the website in the coming weeks, so that'll give me a kick up the arse to do it. I will be looking at LinkedIn.
Get on LinkedIn, mate. It'd be great for what you're doing.
I think I need to, I've had a couple of recommendations. It's one of those things. It's just getting the time to try and get round to it. I will.
For the talks and the corporate stuff, mate, that's it's a better environment to be on, 1,000,000%. Well, thank you very much. As always, it's been a pleasure. Before we wrap up, a big thank you to the Funky Peach for the guest merchandise supply, of which I will be sending Jacob away with his second set of Talking Tradesman merchandise, the new stuff supplied by the Funky Peach. If you're looking for printed workwear, branded workwear, go and check these guys out. Quality service, quality printing. Go and check them out. And as always, thank you very much for listening. I'll catch you soon on the next one.
Thank you.
You just signed that as well.